Okay, she waved. All right, that was making sure. Council members, we have the minutes of the February 27th meeting in your packet. Do they meet with your approval?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion second by
Councilor Joe.
Councilor Joe. Boy, I just kind of, I didn't have my weeds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that was a thumbs up. Thank you, Councilor. Motion is approved. We have a invited guest tonight under visitor comments. I'm pleased to welcome Polk County Commissioner Jeremy Gordon, who's going to report on the pilot program for rural Polk County 5-year strategic plan for prevention and addressing homelessness. And this is a pilot project funded by the state of Oregon. Commissioner, I'm glad to have you here, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for the warm introduction, and thank you, Council, for having me today and for your partnership on this project. With me today is Mr.
Ryan Pollard from Polk County Family and Community Outreach.
So we thought the way we'd structure this is I'd give a brief kind of introduction on how we got here, go over the tenets of the plan briefly. You should have a copy of the full plan. Your guide, I'm sure you have it memorized. And then Ryan's going to talk a bit about the program elements going on right now in Polk County, in rural Polk County, and share some data and maybe some success stories as well in Independence. So, Partners Aligned Towards Housing Solutions is the name of our advisory board that we formed as a result of receiving funds through House Bill 4123. So these conversations started in the spring of 2022. Advanced slide. Essentially, as we applied for these funds, we convened a bunch of community partners just to listen from their perspective what they're seeing in terms of homelessness in our communities. So we had a meeting dedicated to public safety professionals. So we heard from representatives from each municipal police department, the sheriff's office, the DA's office, community corrections, and the like, and code enforcement, and heard things from their perspective. We heard from service providers, Community Action Agency, Polk County Behavioral Health, and others, and Family Community Outreach, of course. We heard from city and tribal leaders, so city managers and tribal administrative staff about what they're seeing and challenges they're seeing. We heard from our school districts, our McKinney-Vento liaisons from each school district. And this is the one that really sort of hooked me into this work, because at that time, there were about over 200 students experiencing homelessness under the McKinney-Vento federal definition. And that was a call to action, certainly, for me and many of us. And then we heard from the Housing Authority, the West Valley Housing Authority and Polk Community Development Corporation. They administer, well, the Housing Authority administers the Section 8 vouchers and project-based vouchers. Polk Community Development Corporation does most of the affordable housing development. So we heard about barriers for them, challenges, and kind of what is in their plan. And so from there, we received $1 million from the state, of course. And then as part of that contract, we had to form an advisory group, a committee, made up from a representative from each partner jurisdiction. So that's Polk County, the cities of Monmouth, Independence, Dallas, Falls City. We included Willamina, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, and Community Action Agency. We met monthly for the first year or so. Now we're meeting every other month. And those are public meetings. Anybody is welcome to join us. And from Independence, City Manager West has been representing Independence in that group and serving as vice chair, or whether she wants to or not, kind of thing. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So I kind of went over this. We can go to the next slide. That's the partnership. Okay, let's get into the basic tenets of the plan. And I did not bring. Oh, I do have it right here. Okay. So the broad view here is, so this is another requirement of the House bill, right? So this is something we had to approve as a board and provide to the state, and we'll be providing updates to the legislature periodically as our work continues. So the three basic foundations of our work center on collaboration at all levels, centering our work on data and evidence. You know, we started by collecting a lot of data. We're going to revisit that data, refresh it every year or so to see where we need to kind of change course or adjust. And of course, to make sure that all the services we're providing reach everybody in need, regardless of their age, their location, their racial identity, etc. So make sure there's equity in the system. And then we were looking at 3 core solutions embedded in these foundations. The first, of course, is prevention. So what do we mean by prevention? I mean, that's a core of our work, that's a core of our goal here, is to ensure that people do not lose their housing in the first place. And if they do lose their housing, that it's as short-living experience as possible. So we kind of broke up that prevention into 2 broad categories. One is kind of the holistic and really far upstream prevention. So Polk County does a fairly good job of that already. So if somebody is in an economic crisis or a housing crisis, hopefully they come to a service provider, community action agency, or family and community outreach, the resource center, particularly the new resource center here in town. And they get whatever it is resolved that they need to resolve so that the struggles don't snowball down the line. And then there's more immediate risk to homelessness, which is really what HUD and other agencies are looking at. So that's eviction prevention, people facing, imminent eviction or losing their home. And making sure we're finding them when that happens and intervening appropriately. So we've been administering through Community Action Agency eviction prevention funds. Community Action Agency is also embedded in the resource centers. They administer utility support and several other programs, also rehousing. So we have quite a few rapid rehousing funds circulating in community. So people who do lose their homes, we can get them back into housing, stabilized with the supportive services they need to be self-sufficient. So good things are happening on all of those fronts. The next, so the prevention piece is key, obviously, and then we want to improve the effectiveness of the homeless response system across the housing continuum. And I'll go into that housing continuum a bit in a bit here. If we can advance the slide solutions, that'd be great. Perfect. So that entails more outreach. That's where Ryan comes in. He's going to talk about his program, but more outreach in the community, meeting people where they're at, where they're experiencing homelessness, and building trust and building entries into the continuum of care. And then really to develop a plan for a safe place for those who are in shelter to sleep at night, and where we can sort of case manage them more efficiently. We're not sort of tracking people down constantly. And that's going to be a big gap you'll see soon in terms of transitional housing and sheltering in rural Polk County. And I mentioned rapid rehousing, that's kind of part of this solution as well. And then the third solution is the real tough one, and that's to increase the supply of affordable housing in rural Polk County. We're the 3rd fastest growing county in the state. We have very low vacancy rates, which is good for landlords, but not so great for people finding homes. And of course, the cost, the barriers to enter into home ownership have increased. So the good news is that HUD's budget has increased a bit at the federal level, but it's woefully underfunded. It has been since the 80s. And it's no surprise that we're facing this crisis across the nation, and not a surprise that it's very acute here in Oregon. And Polk County's not an exception. I think we've done a good job with prevention resources and integrating resources, but we still have a growing homeless population in our communities. So we have several ideas for that affordable housing pathway. That's kind of a work in progress. It's going to take a lot of time to develop. PATHS is not really a direct service provider, not a housing developer. We're a convener. We collect data and we encourage collaboration. So a lot of this work, a lot of the goals we reach will be very dependent on what happens outside of our control. So we go to the next slide. Okay, this is the housing continuum I mentioned earlier, and that's really, so if somebody is experiencing homelessness, obviously we want to get them back to housing and in a self-sufficient state, right? So the first step is outreach. So we have really good capacity right now with outreach. Church of the Park is providing these services. Family Community Outreach, Ryan and his partner Grace. Community Action Agency has outreach folks. And Recovery Outreach and Community Center also performs outreach. And they're getting together on a regular basis the case conference to talk about solutions for each household that they're interacting with. And then on the rapid rehousing front, that's, rehousing a family, a household is key, right? That's the only path to solving homelessness for a family. So Family and Community Outreach is doing a lot of that work in partnership with Community Action Agency. And then Sable House has received funding also through the governor's emergency order to navigate survivors of domestic violence into safe housing. And they've done actually remarkable work in Polk County. They're a very high performer. But a big gap, like I mentioned, is our transitional housing stop right now. So you can call it sheltering or sort of emergency transitional housing. But there are some really bright spots too. Recently, we brought online Editor Hall. That's a facility next to Dallas Alliance Church on Ellendale in Dallas. They can serve one family at a time. Our family resource navigators through DHS, in partnership with the county, works with these families. We've been able to rehouse 2 families since that was brought online. We have Gales Lodge that can serve 5 male veterans at a time, and we've rehoused and stabilized over 30 male veterans who were experiencing homelessness. Grand Ronde, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, is a vanguard, a spearhead in this work, and they, in consultation with Church at the Park, developed a micro-village in their community, and they started off with a handful of beds, but have since doubled their capacity, and this is for tribal members and their family. And then Sable House also provides emergency temporary shelter for victims of domestic violence. And then, as I'm sure you've heard, Church at the Park was awarded grant funds to stand up a rural Polk County homelessness shelter program, and that's a question mark because they currently have a application with the city of Dallas, and we don't know the outcome of that yet, and it'll probably be several months before we know. But that's a gap. It does not meet the current need. If we go to the next slide, I'll give you a little snapshot of some of the data that number of households we're currently working with. Is there another slide? Oh, good. Okay, so that's the pretty new building we just built. And Ryan's gonna take over right after this slide. But currently, as of February 1st of this year, we have 45 households on our caseload at Family and Community Outreach. These are folks we've connected with through our outreach programs. 22 total households, which include 69 individuals, 33 of which are minors. So we have 33 minors who are experiencing literal homelessness, sleeping in the streets, parks, in cars, RVs, without hookups, etc. These are folks engaged with FCO. This does not include the full breadth of youth experiencing homelessness by the McKinney-Vento definition. Those numbers are also available. I did not include them here because we're kind of focused on the work done at the county, but PC Paths, the website, will refresh those various data sources periodically. So we'll keep that as updated as possible. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. After he's done, we're happy to take questions, of course, as well. If we don't know the answer, I'm going to write it down and I'll get back to you. The brains of the operation, Brent DeMo, is not here today, but we'll do our best. So Ryan, why don't you take it over?
Alrighty, so as Commissioner talked about, we have that new resource center. So right behind Ross, I'm sure all of you know it by now. We have a ton of partners that co-locate with there. Community Action Agency, Department of Human Services. We have a pediatrician clinic there. We have so much stuff going on there. We have Oregon WIC. We have Home Youth Services. So many partners there that we want to make it a one-stop shop for people, so people don't have to go to many different places to receive services. We all want to collaborate together in that one area, and that's what we're doing over there, and it's awesome. So I wanted to also let you guys know that if you know somebody who is stuck, or just you want direction on where to go, where to direct them, the Resource Center is a great start for that. So you can either direct them, just say, behind Ross and Monmouth there. I also have a phone number that I'd just like to give you guys, and that's 503-751-1644. 503-751-1644. That is the Resource Center number. That is not my number. So it's a great place just to get, if anyone that is stuck and needs some direction, that's a great starting point. Commissioner Gordon talked a little bit about the data that we collect, and you can see on the screen there some numbers, and I'm going to kind of break those down just a little bit more. And so 45 households, 45 literal homeless individuals that we are currently serving here in rural Polk County. And this is data over the last couple of months that Polk County FCO has been, we've worked with, we've developed goals with, we've heard their stories. These are where these numbers come from. So 45 total literal homeless individuals. It's pretty split 50-50, 22 males, 23 females. There's a variety of different places where they stay. A good amount are staying on the street or sidewalk. About 19 of them are staying in a car, boat, or RV, with some other people staying in the park as well. We also work with literal homeless families. So we have 22 total households that we're working with right now. Of those 22 households that are literal homeless, there are 69 total individuals of that group, with 33 of those individuals being minors under the age of 18. And so there are literal homeless families out there, and a majority of them are sleeping in a car. We know people that are sleeping in storage units, fields, barns, places not meant for habitation. We know someone sleeping in a boat underneath a covering, a family. And so there's a variety of different places that these people are, and a lot of them are really hidden. And so we want to be able to connect with them and help them in all of their goals. There's also a lot of individuals and families who are imminent risk of becoming homelessness, and this is where a lot of our work really happens, is on the prevention side. And so for imminent risk families, we work with about 25 families, 25 households. Of those 25 households, 97 individuals total, with 60 of them being under the age of 18. And that number is staggering. It's a lot of minors. And I wanted to also share a couple success stories that we've had in the work we've done. And so we know a mother with 2 kiddos that lived in Independence for years, became homeless, fled a very bad situation, ended up living in their car. We were able to get them enrolled in one of our rapid rehousing programs, as the Commissioner talked about a little bit, and we were able to get them housed. They're being case managed full-time, working on childcare, working towards becoming self-sufficient. And so it's just a great success that we've seen here in Independence. Another one, we actually just recently, well actually I'm gonna share 2 real quick. One of them was chronically homeless for about 2 years, bouncing back and forth between Monmouth and Independence, chronically homeless, addicted to drugs. We continually would just support them with food. We've supported them with goals before, but they just weren't really ready to kind of exit homelessness. And all of a sudden, she just kind of light bulb clicked in her heart, and she was ready to get out, and she cared a lot. And so we were able to help her with providing some support for housing. She is now housed. She's clean and sober, 55 days in. And we got to hear her story just 2 days ago coming to the Resource Center, yesterday, Monday. And it was really touching just to kind of hear, she shared how we helped her in a little bit of her process. And so that's what we want to do. We want to collaborate and help those who are in need. And so we have a program called Rapid Rehousing. That's one of the programs that we housed the family for. This is in partnership with Community Action Agency to house up to 50 households here in rural Polk County. We have currently housed 44 households. And so we have about 6 remaining, but we want to continue to do that work. We have a very good vetting process for who actually qualifies for that program to make sure we're getting the right people in that can succeed long term. And so that's a great program that we're doing. There's a lot of success there. Also a part of our resource center, we have a bunch of different funding streams that we're able to access. We have county funds, state funds, church funds. We have people that donate, and so there's a lot of variety that we have to be able to help prevent and address homelessness. And a lot of our work is really honed on preventing homelessness. I shared a little bit about how we're able to address some chronically homeless, but most of our work is preventing it. We don't want to see people hit the streets and really get into that rut where they start to spiral even more downwards. We know it's a very bad place to be. And so we've spent over $150,000 this last fiscal year for Independence households, and particularly, and that's over 60 households paying rent and utility assistance. And so we've been able to help in that amazing manner as well. One thing that we really want to focus on, this is part of the strategic plan, is really collaborating with partners. And this is where our success has really been magnified because we can't do it without the help of community. We have really good partnerships with city police officers, sheriffs, deputies, other organizations in the area, churches, faith-based organizations, to really come around people and help support them the best way possible. We have monthly meetings that we host. Commissioner Gordon mentioned binding case conferencing. We also have a quarterly landlord luncheon where we meet with landlords to let them know of the amazing prevention work that we have to offer, so that if they have a tenant that gets stuck in an eviction process, they know that they can come to us. We also host another monthly meeting, and this is a street outreach team meeting. We want to come together, Church at the Park, Community Action, Polk FCO, and do outreach together, collaborate together, and we want to be able to go out into Independence and find people. We know of camps that are here, we know of people that are living in cars that are here, so we want to team up with everybody and go meet people where they're at. And lastly, just to kind of close, we have also a really good partnership with Polk County Warming Centers. We do outreach at the warming centers to meet people there that come in when it gets below 32 degrees. So we're able to connect with them and help provide the resources that they need.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and making a presentation. Council members, do you have questions? Councilor Joe?
So I did go through the packet.
Hey, you want to press your button? Thank you.
Okay, I did go through the packet, thank you for providing that. But I did have a question on page 4, specifically Independence. It says there's 2,971 households in Independence. That is 2020. That was your number for 2020. And then page 7, it goes households receiving ODHS services in 2023. So I know they're a couple years apart, but those numbers are showing that there's only 177 roughly households in Independence that don't receive Oregon Department of Human Services. Is that accurate?
So you're looking at pages 4 and 10?
4 and 7.
4 and 7.
Yeah, 4 says that there's 2,971 total households in Independence. And then the other one on page 7 says there's 2,794 households receiving ODHS services.
You know, I had the exact same question on Falls City, because that's where I live. There's 420 households receiving some sort of benefit. These are numbers from DHS, so.
So only 177 households in all of Independence don't receive services, everybody else does.
I think that's what, so this is ODHS, yes. So that, it's in the zip code though. So it's in the 97351 zip code. Is that only Independence?
And rural. So it sounds like you're gonna probably be getting back with a clarification.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering, I know during the COVID, they were giving basically like food stamp cards to all school children, even if regardless of what their incomes were and the families and stuff. People that didn't receive free lunch or reduced lunch or anything like that. Also in Independence, I know our schools provide free breakfast, so is it everybody that has a child is counted in this as receiving services?
So these are so this could be people on OHP, it looks like medical, ERDC, SNAP, and TANF. But I'll double check these numbers with DHS.
That just is astounding to see
Yeah.
those numbers.
Yeah, I was also astounded by that. I actually asked, we hired a consultant to help us gather some of the data. Because I thought, wow, this just seems like a high percentage of households that.
Right, especially when you look at like the income of Independence and what people are earning, and then how would they qualify for that?
Sure.
I had some same question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get more clarification from the agency on that.
Great. Additional questions? Councilor Swartzler, do you have anything? No? Thank you for taking the time to come and. It's all right. Thank you for taking the time to come, and we look forward to hearing from you periodically. And I'm going to ask you again, could you give that phone number so that if somebody knows of someone that's jammed up, so if I see somebody, I can pick up the phone and call, and the number is?
503-751-1644.
And I can call and say, I know somebody, and they're there, and they're jammed up, and somebody will help.
Yeah, you can call, the client can call, whoever can call, explain the situation. We have people at our front desk Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 all the time. So happy to happy to take that call and direct them in the right direction.
Great, thank you
I
very
have
much.
one more short question. You mentioned all the communities that are being served. Is West Salem being served by Marion County?
By Marion County, in terms of this project? No, so this project focuses, I should have covered this. So
Just rural?
this project focuses on areas west of Highway 51. There are a few reasons for that, because we discussed this at length before we applied. And I actually talked to the city of Salem also. And essentially, they're an entitlement community. They get certain federal funds. They're covered several homeless programs. And so that's one reason why we wanted to focus on rural. The second was because homelessness looks a little different in rural. So some of the solutions you might see in Salem might not land well here according to the need. We have a lot of people living in cars, like Ryan said, people who certainly need warm and safe sheltering, but some of the strategies and the way it looks and manifests in rural areas is different. So we wanted to make sure we're locking in on that. Further, Salem, Polk County, Salem, and Marion County are part of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. So part of the goal here was to ensure that some rural areas in Polk County were plugged into those systems as well. There's a coordinated entry system, there's a homeless management information system. So some of this work is also informing that larger project in Marion and Polk counties. So we have really pretty good data and good penetration in Salem. Folks there kind of know where to go, but not the case in rural. So we wanted to focus on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a really good question.
To kind of touch on that too real quick, on page 2 of the strategic plan, there is a map that kind of outlines, where we cover. It also includes all of the Confederated Triumph of Grand Ronde and all of Willow Line as well.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, have a couple of things for you. I have some commission appointments on page 81. So Vicki McCubbin for the library board and Megan Freeborn for the Independence Days Commission. Go ahead.
I move to authorize the appointments as presented in our packet.
Second?
Second by Mark Willis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Just wanted to add a piece of information. Last time we had some questions about how we communicate with people, and after working with the manual, I just wanted to give you some numbers that were really helpful. This last fall, we put out commission notifications and explanations of what the positions do, and that was in the fall, and that went out to 1,400 people on our social media contact, and also in September, on September 29th, the newsletter went out with the same information to 2,188 subscribers, and we had a number of people that actually clicked and looked at the information. So I just wanted to pass that information on. Moving forward, we have the city manager employment agreement. You folks, there's a memo here that explains it. You asked me to do a negotiation and work with our city manager. I took the liberty of bringing in Scott Datson, who is the executive director of the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, and he's been working with a number of the other cities on city manager recruitments and contracts, et cetera. Scott, you want to wave your hand? It's great, thank you, Scott. And I really appreciate having somebody from the outside take a look at this. And as you can see, because his name is on the memo, he thought that this was all good, proper, made good sense for our community. And he's shaking his head, yes, I did. And this is an action item. Go ahead.
I move that the council authorize the mayor to execute the attached city manager employment agreement with Kenna West on behalf of the city of Independence.
Second?
Motion second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Councilor Schwartzler, is that can I get, thank you. Motion carries, thank you very much. I have my report. I have a little bit to talk about today. So I just wanted to draw your attention. I've been a little bit busy, and it's been actually very reaffirming. Had the opportunity to present the state of the city, and we did that as a video. And I want to thank the staff people who helped do that, both video and helping me with the right words. Reason we do a video is because it has a longer shelf life. Rather than just doing it once and being done, we're able to use it for recruitments, for business recruitment, for more community. Last year, over 500 people saw it, and I know it's continuing to go on, so I really want to thank the people who helped do that. Attended, as many of you did, the COG annual meeting and awards, and I was very proud to be able to present the Gwen Vanden Bosch Award for an elected official, and I was able to present it to Jeremy Gordon. And I'm one of the few people around that still know Gwen Vanden Bosch. It is a very prestigious award, and there are a number of people, the people who've won it in the past is really impressive, and it was really a pleasure to present it to Jeremy Gordon. The West Gavarston Professional Service Award for Outstanding Professional Service and Intergovernmental Cooperation went to our own Kenna West, and I'm proud to say that she got surprised. And the letters of nomination were very, very impressive and across a wide spectrum. And so I want to publicly congratulate you again, Kenna, on that. And also the trolley project, the Monmouth Independence trolley project was recognized for the Regional Cooperation Award, and people are very impressed with what we've got going and what we're accomplishing there, and I just got to tell you, it felt really good. I mentioned before that there's a group of people, a couple of dozen people working on the wall that heals, and a number of people were able to attend the next meeting. Council Roden was able to join us. Some other people from the council who were there previously weren't able to join us, but looking at putting in an application to host that in '25, worked up a location for the independent sports field, and I'll be co-chairing along with Billy Weisnut as we move this project forward, and it's very exciting. Billy's meeting with the leadership of the Wall That Heals at the end of this month in Southern California, so that's encouraging. Had the opportunity, was it last Saturday? The days kind of jumbled a little bit. The Bike Indy had a bicycle ride based out of Independence. Now, biking. I gotta tell you, there were people who came from Portland, Corvallis, and other places within the Willamette Valley, and people that came from Portland stayed at the hotel, and people were eating here in town, and so it's a good business development thing, and all they have to do is stop at the top of the park, and Ramon helps them out, and off they go, and they bike, and then they eat and drink and sleep, and it works out really well. So I had a chance to the same day speak at the Independence Women's Club, helping them celebrate their 110th anniversary, and read the proclamation that we shared at the last council meeting, and they were very touched. And I got to tell you, I learned a little bit about the things that this group did. Besides just providing the first library here in Independence, they did all sorts of things in the before time. They helped out during the Depression with food. They did war bond drives. They've done a host of things over 110 years, and it was really interesting to listen to that. Later in the week, was honored to the Polk County Fire District Annual Awards took place, and they had it here in the event center, and it was a full house. And I was honored to, along with Mayor Kuntz, receive an award for our local collaborative efforts. And that was from the Chiefs Award, and that was very touching to be recognized for that, and so much. As you may or may not have known, Congress just approved the first of a number of funding pieces of legislation, and with the help of Andrea Salinas and the support of our Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley, Independence has granted $500,000 for the Chestnut Street Bridge, and then $880,000 for the Corvallis Road water line. And I really appreciate those, our congressional members doing that. And finally, as you all know, the Central School District got hit by a cyber attack, and it was a pretty nasty attack. And because we have long-standing cooperative, collaborative relationships with other governments, this city, Jason, Chief, and others were able to make a real difference in helping Central recover from that. The FBI, Homeland Security, were all involved, and this is a big thing. And they were very appreciative of the whole team. We weren't the only folks that helped. Western Oregon University also marshaled their resources, and the night of the school board meeting, Kenna, Jason, Bob, and myself were all recognized, along with President Jesse Peters from Western Oregon University and others. And so, you know, working cooperatively sounds all well and good, it is, it's good stuff, but when stuff hits the fan, those relationships allow prompt response to be able to help out people that need it. You know, FDR once said, when your neighbor's house is burning, you don't worry about who owns the hose, you just put it out there. I also wanted to say that there's a lot of work that went on internationally. The people that made the attack were taken down internationally shortly after this, and so that's really good. So that's enough of my report. I'm going to turn it over to our city manager for her report.
Thank you, Mayor. So since the mayor ended on the cyber attack, I'm going to adjust what I talk about real quick. I just received an email from Jason about 4:46 today. And, you know, when that cyber attack hit, I know everybody in the city was worried. We were worried about the school, we were worried about the city, we were worried about our people. And, you know, we had some conversations about how strong our cybersecurity is, and we're blessed because Jason is wonderful at his job. We're gonna have to do some more things in the next fiscal year. We put them aside, and we're gonna have to pick them back up. But one of our vendors was recently attacked and became victim to an account takeover. And that resulted in some malicious emails being sent to our system, and this just happened. Our system, so the system that Jason has set up for us, to make sure that this malicious, he calls it a malicious payload, the malicious payload doesn't hit, there are 8 different places that check things that come in. And so our emails may be delayed a little bit, but it's because it's going through 8 different processes to make sure that that malicious payload doesn't hit us. The 8th one is our employees. We all go through cybersecurity training. So when that hit and our people saw that come through, because it made it through 7, and they didn't touch it. They didn't touch it. They contacted Jason. He looked at it. He made sure it didn't hit us, and we don't have a problem. All because this has been set up. And I can read this to you, but I don't understand half of it. It's pretty amazing what all these checks and balances that go through automatically. And the one that really got me is number 6. If the email has an attachment, then that attachment is sent to a sandbox. The sandbox is a virtual computer that we know everything about. The attachment is opened in the sandbox and then monitored to see what it does. If the attachment is found to have a virus or other malicious code, it is rejected. Otherwise, the email continues to step number 7. I didn't even know we had a sandbox. We have a sandbox. So we are about as safe as you can get. Jason tells me that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just going to be a lot harder, and we're going to continue that. I also want to follow up on great news that the mayor presented on the community project funding request. Congresswoman Salinas and her staff put these through for us last year. And usually they only put through 1 for each city, but they put through 2 for us. And we're extraordinarily blessed to have received both of them. And we had a chat last week about grants and how we move forward with grants. And you know, we lump these into the grants because it's money, it's not free money, but it's money that is awarded to us. But these are a little different than grants. Marshall's involved, obviously. The process we go through for this, you know, Sean, Marshall, and I, we talked with Merkley and Wyden staff. we run these projects by them. We say, which one do you think is going to be a good project? Which one fits into your parameters? And then we have that same conversation with Congresswoman Salinas. And we kind of pick the projects that we think are gonna work. Then the application is filled out. But the mayor, Sean, and I, we talk to these staff members all year long. We give them the projects. We promote the projects. We show them what we need. We show them the location of the projects. So these are just a little different than grants because it is, when I say it was a team effort, these are a team effort. It's a political, operations, policy, every part of the city is involved in these. And so to receive these was really a team effort. And I'm incredibly proud of my team and our mayor that we were able to get these. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. And then when we're talking about infrastructure projects, I want to give you a little bit of an update on some of the things we're working on. Many of these you may know, but I want to make sure our community hears them as well. So we had a pre-construction meeting for C Street Sewer and Local Number 4 project coming up on March 18. After that, we'll issue notices to proceed. The Ninth Street Pump Station Phase 1 contractor is preparing to put the pump station into operation. We had a little trouble getting a generator due to supply chain issues, but we've received a delivery date of May 15th. Gerald, that has not changed, right? Oh, good, because it bounced around a lot for a while there. Our water management and conservation plan, which is required by the state, was submitted for review and approval. The Riverview pathway realignment plans are in review by engineering. As you may recall, this pathway we moved away from Ash Creek to avoid further pathway failure, and we'll go into construction after the 4th of July. Staff are reviewing the revised legal descriptions for annexation of county-owned streets into the city UGB. In communications, I kind of want to follow up on the State of the City address. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. I was here last year for the State of the City address, and it was good. This year was extraordinary, and it's not just me that thinks it's extraordinary. I've received so many emails from people. I've received emails from our federal delegate staff telling me how amazing the State of the City is. Our team did a fantastic job. Sean, Emmanuel, the mayor, they created something that tells our community what we're doing. It honestly tells them, yep, this is good. Yep, we have these issues, but this is our plan. And everybody has the same issues. And yeah, we've got some great stuff. And people felt it. And I received emails from other cities, from our federal delegates, from our community members. It's pretty impressive. It's a good one. And I'm glad it's going to be around for a while. So watch it if you can. From our museum hosted the first ever meeting of the Willamette Valley Museum Alliance in late February. They had close to 30 people in attendance. Now, you all know when you get people together, getting 30 for the first meeting is pretty impressive. So I'm very proud of our museum director for getting that started. March is Women's History Month. So the museum has a lot of great things planned. On March 1, the new mini exhibit created by our own curator, Amy Christensen, was unveiled. And spotlights local beauty shop owner, Linda Garcia. And she had established one of the first Latino-owned beauty salons in Independence, and she was in business in style hair for over 43 years. Then from March 5th to the 15th, the museum will be hosting an exhibit produced by the National Library of Medicine, which presents a selection of postcards that span a century of images of nursing and nurses, and investigates the hold that these images exert on public imagination then and now. On March 20th, in conjunction with the Monmouth Public Library, there's going to be a Zoom conversation with author, and I'm going to just butcher this last name, and I apologize to the author Maria Smilios, who wrote The Black Angels, the untold story of the nurses who helped cure tuberculosis. And that sounds really, really interesting. I'm going to try and actually get in on that Zoom meeting. I hadn't known anything about this until Natasha filled me in on it. On March 23rd, from 11 to 2 p.m., the museum will be hosting Peggy Klein, who's a local fiber artist who will be actively spinning and exploring the history of fiber arts and the current trends. And then, if you haven't, you need to check out the new page on the museum website that highlights Margaret McCauley Richardson. She's a historic resident of Independence and one of the initial graduates of the Good Samaritan School of Nursing in Portland, Oregon. And she answered the call to serve during the Spanish-American War. And that's pretty impressive. like, can someone, a nurse in the Spanish-American War? I already talked about our IT department and how busy they have been. We are almost there with our e-permitting, and as you may recall, e-permitting is a state program. It's being put in place so that those folks who are building here in Independence have easy access to permits, to fees, to all the things that they need to make it smooth sailing for them. It's been a little bit of an uphill battle to get that going, but I think we're almost there. I also want to give kudos to my IT director. He was invited to serve on the Chemeketa Community College new statewide IT apprenticeship steering committee. I think he's great, but clearly other people think he's great too. So I really want to give him a shout out. I also want to give a shout out to our police department and my communications director. They've been working together to make changes in how our police department has been communicating with our community. We're working very, very closely with the new reporters and owners at the Pipeline Observer. You should have seen the new information that came out just last week with additional details of our police department's daily activities. I hope that you saw the new monthly video series. That's really interesting. And luckily we'll have that on the shelf for a long time since Bob's retiring. We'll have his face in front of us for years to come. Yay, yeah. And that's all that I have, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Great. Okay, council members, we have a second reading of the annexation for property. We had extensive discussion, public hearing last time, and so this is up for a second reading, and it is an action item. Don't all jump at once.
We're trying to get to the appropriate places on screens.
There you go.
I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2024-01, for the second time by title only.
A motion
Second.
and a second by Morton for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, council, and can you bring up Council Schwartzler, please?
Yes,
And how do you vote?
approve.
Yes, okay, and so that makes 3 yes. We have 2 noes and one no by absence. So that makes it a 3-3 tie. According to the charter, I can declare a tie vote. And by declaring a tie vote, that means I get to vote, and that means I'm voting yes. Motion carries. Did I do that correctly, Karen? Thank you. Okay, so you can do the second reading now, Karen?
Thank you. An ordinance declaring territory annexed to the City of Independence and amending the zoning map for tax lot 100, map 8 south, 4 west, 33, and stating an effective date.
And the next motion, please.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance, Council Bill 2024-01.
And I need a second, please.
Second.
A second by Martin Willis. Discussion. Okay, let's move to the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Counselor Schwartzler?
Aye.
Aye, that's 3 yes, and no. Roden and Joe, no. And again, since Counselor Core is here, that's a no by absence. That makes it 3-3 according to the charter. I can declare a tie vote, and in that case, I get to cast the deciding vote, and I vote yes, and the motion carries.
The ordinance is passed and will be assigned ordinance number 1613.
Thank you. Ms. West, I think you're filling in for Mr. Kistler this evening on a contractor replacing the telephone system.
I am, thank you, Mayor. Jason sends his apologies. He is down ill and couldn't make it in today. I'm afraid he had it going around, so. And we did have our wonderful Karen, our cleaner, come in and make everything clean and sanitized for y'all, so hopefully you don't come down with that either. So what we're talking about tonight is authorization to execute a contract for replacement of the telephone system. Our telephone system is antiquated, it's 14 years old, and the original provider for our services sold to another provider who will no longer support our telephone system. So we had to look at getting another system. I requested that Jason do that. He spent a lot of time and energy to try and find the very best option that we could. And what he found for us is a system that will still integrate into our email, which is a very important part of what we do, because when we're not there, if we get a voicemail, it goes to our email, so we can actually access it. He was able to find pricing that will be locked in for 3 years. The increase is only a couple $100 per month, and in addition, they agreed to give us 3 months of free service. So he worked really hard to get us a very good value for a situation that we were not expecting to be in. And I'm trying to read his notes, so I apologize, I'm not as
You're fine, we do have the information memo and the quotes in front of us in the packet, so just in case anybody watching, so it's.
Yes, and he indicates what the fiscal impact is, and it is up to you whether we move forward on the agreement or not.
Questions for the presenter?
I have a question.
Please do.
Why can't we use MyNet? They just couldn't provide us phone services?
I don't know the answer to that. My guess, I'm gonna speculate.
The chief has an answer.
Yeah, they don't provide that kind of phone service any longer. They actually use a similar service to what we're going to here.
That's what I was gonna speculate. Thank you, Bob.
Chief. Additional questions?
It's a hard pill to swallow that this is a $90,000+ bill every single month. There has to be a cheap.
No.
It says invoice monthly.
Yeah, so that's the total amount, but they're gonna invoice it monthly over 3 years.
Which is about $2,500 a month.
That makes me feel much.
Okay.
That's good.
And just doing a little math in my head, if we're getting 3 months of free service, in spite of the raise of $200 a month, that really puts us pretty close to exactly what we're paying now. And my experience with them runs quite a ways back. They have been limping for a long time.
Yes, you are correct from what I understand from Jason. And I will say Jason worked really hard, Counselor, to get that good deal for us.
Great. Okay, if someone would make a motion, I appreciate it.
I move to approve the agreement with Ring Central and authorize the city manager to execute the contract for those services.
Second?
I have motion and a second. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Counselor Schwarzenegger said yes. Okay, motion carries. Mr. Fisher. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. After quite a bit of work, I have the Sunset Meadows Park Award in front of you tonight. We advertised request for bids on January 24th and 26th. Closing date for the bids was February 22nd, and we received a total of one responsive bid. The notice of intent to award went out on February 27th, and we didn't receive any protests on the project. Breakdown of the funding, we're receiving $75,000 from Oregon Parks and Rec for playground equipment. There is also a private grant of $50,000 that's going to be disclosed later on. This month, next month, can't remember.
I think it's next month.
Next month. The rest of the project will be paid for with Parks SDCs because it's 100% capacity increasing. And outside of this contract, we also received a total of $3,500 from Pacific Power for the trees in the park. So staff recommends that you award the contract to GT Landscape.
Questions for the presenter?
Yeah.
Please, Counselor Jones.
Oh my God, $500,000 for a park. I'm struggling on this one because I think I didn't understand what we were doing. I knew the $75,000 grant. But I guess I didn't know we were looking at $500,000 for that.
So this is the nature play structures, which are log structures with netting, a swing set, slide, landscaping and irrigation for the entire site, fall protection, park benches, receptacles, picnic table, and we'll be doing signing separate. The city will actually put in the signing, but it is to fully develop the site with a playground. The price seems high. I'm not shocked by the price. Parks are some of the most expensive infrastructure that I've ever built. Built Marossi Park and Civic Center Park in Wilsonville. They were in the millions. So I'm not shocked by the price at all.
Council Roden?
I'm extremely shocked by the price, and I think it's totally irresponsible to go through with this at this price. If all we did was put 2 advertisements in the Itemizer Observer and in the Commerce advertisements, we didn't do our due diligence to find an adequate bidder for this project. I worked with Buell Parks in order to get Pioneer Park done, and I know this was a decade ago, but it was $40,000 to get Pioneer Park to looking the way it does, and it's a great park. And we're talking about natural landscaping, and we're gonna spend $500,000 doing it. I think we need to put this back on the table and go out and do a little bit more research than what we've done to try to find some bidders to actually come in and give us a legitimate bid. Because $500,000 is ridiculous for what we're planning for this park. And it's ridiculous considering the budget deficit we're in and the debt the city is in right now.
So in response to your comment, this is paid for with Parks SDCs, so it's not coming out of the general fund.
That doesn't change anything.
Let the gentleman answer.
The park in question was master planned by the community. It did it completely separate from the park's master plan of what the community wanted to see in that park. Staff put together the design with our consultants based on what the community wanted. The price came back as it is right now. I can't tell you if there's a whole bunch of other park projects going on out there right now. If the council wants to put it back out to bid, we can. There's no guarantee it's going to come back less expensive or that it's not going to come back higher. So it's up to you.
Go ahead, Councilor Joe.
So you said it's paid for with SDCs, does that mean we have to use those funds on this specific park? Okay, so we can't put it into another park that needs help in our area?
There's no other parks on the list because we're doing the parks master plan right now.
Well, then we would have parks on the list once we finish the plan, because we could use $500,000 at the Riverview Park to make it more wheelchair accessible, or provide more equity to people who don't have the ability to walk across hardships to get to our park. Our community has said we've needed something like this for a long time. I can't imagine that if we put this out to the community and say, in a little tiny sector of Independence, we're gonna put a park that's gonna serve a very small portion of our community for $500,000, I can't imagine people would be supportive of that.
I have a question.
Mayor,
Oh, go ahead.
Cheryl, would you explain the difference between capacity increasing and maintenance or improvement? And how that
So
affects the SDCs?
if I'm replacing something in a park, it's not SDC eligible. That comes directly out of the general fund. If you have a playground and you're replacing the playground essentially with the same playground, you have to use general fund money. You can't use parks SDCs for that. Right now, you have a bare piece of ground with a concrete pathway. Everything that we're adding to the site doesn't currently exist. It was identified in the master plan. It was also identified in the site-specific master plan for the park. Therefore, it makes it SDC eligible. So we don't have to spend any general fund money on this park.
Are you saying that because we have the SDCs to cover this entire bill? And you're saying it doesn't matter the cost, you're saying you'll just spend the money anyway?
It's up to you.
So we can table it, and we can decide as a group that we want to maybe get another bid, or maybe
So
there's some
we have
landscapers.
3 options. You can authorize the bid to be approved. You reject all bids in accordance with ORS 279C395, or you request more information from staff. I don't have any more information for you. I've reached the end of this process. So there's two options on the table. You can approve the award, or you can reject the bids, at which point we'll take the project and put it back out to bid again.
What would be the timetable? Because if we had to go through a whole new bid process, what's the timetable?
Earliest I could start on the project is probably gonna be June, July. So we have to repackage it, we have to republish it, we have to give the bidders enough time to put their bids together, we have to open the bids, we have to review, we have to put it out as, see if there's any protests on the bids, and then I come back to you again with an update.
Follow-up question. This is what you do public works. In your professional opinion, is this a good bid for the kinds of things that need to be done in that park? Because you mentioned everything from playgrounds and trees and I'm going to guess with landscaping there's like irrigation and drainage and stuff, because I know that there's no such thing as dealing with water going up or out is not cheap. So in your professional estimation, having to take all those things, is this, you're recommending this, and is that?
I'm recommending this. Also, I went through this with our engineer of record on the project, and we went through each line item, and they know of other projects, and the costs that were coming through are comparable.
Councilor Schwartzler, please, go ahead.
I am echoing basically what Gerald said. I'm not surprised by the costs on this. I think if we wait, my concern would be that the cost could actually go up. And I think we have the funds that are dedicated to this through the SDC process and also through the master planning process that was previously done. This is an underserved area of the community that doesn't have the parks. And I know that the community is anxious to see something be constructed there at that site. And it's already been, I think, delayed from the original sort of anticipated timeframe of getting that park built with the housing that's gone in around it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morton, were you waiting?
I was just going to say that I need to also take in for myself the consideration that this is being done under public mandate. That this was something, part of the master plan was developed and approved by this body and also from public input. And it's part of our 2040 vision as well.
Additional questions or comments? Councilor Chisholm.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
That's okay.
So, Councilor Roden was asking about, like wheelchair accessibility stuff down at the riverfront, and you said if we were replacing a park, that doesn't fit, but if it's something new like that, would that fit under the SDCs?
Yes, it just has to be identified as a project in the Parks Master Plan. So if it's not specific, if the improvements aren't specifically identified in the Parks Master Plan for any park property that we have in the city, then it's not something that I can use SDCs to build.
Shouldn't we wait for the park master plan to be finished before we start spending $500,000?
That's probably 2 years out.
So the park master plan, to clarify, park master plan is 2 years or more out, is that correct?
Yeah, because Parks Master Plans are one of the most heavily attended and has the most comments from the public. That and Transportation Master Plans, those are the two big ones. Parks by far is the biggest.
Okay.
But this park is already covered in the current master plan, correct?
Correct.
So I mean, we're implementing a plan that has already been identified.
We also have change of circumstances with, SDCs they're not going to be rolling in. I mean, you've just raised SDCs everywhere, and we've had some builders have some comments to us. So this could essentially be the end of it for a while. Like, right? I mean, is that kind of what we're anticipating, the last of the SDCs to come rolling in?
Right now, according to our budget, I have enough to finish this park and to finish the park's master plan.
Okay,
And given the cost of parks maintenance and the other upkeep aspects that go with it, I wouldn't think that we would have the financial stomach to add another park somewhere.
It would have an impact on the general fund.
Yes.
I again just can't believe that we would even bring this to council's consideration with one bid. We should have worked harder to have more than one bid on it. We should have put it in more places than just a local. We should have gone statewide. We should have actually maybe picked up one of our expensive phones and called some park manufacturing places to see if they would be willing to put in a bid, just in case they missed reading the Atomizer Observer.
Just so you know, we advertise in both the IO and the Daily Journal of Commerce. That is where contractors go to look for municipal projects. It covers a very wide area, not just Oregon, but it goes up into Washington too, and it meets all of the state ORS requirements for advertising.
so we have used, and many other governments have used the Daily Journal of Commerce all the time.
I use this every time I bid a project. Water, sewer, we're gonna use the same thing for the wastewater treatment plant, right?
Right. Okay. This is an action item.
I move we reject all bids in accordance with ORS 279C.B95.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reject. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to reject signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have two. You have this, Karen?
Is,
Roden and Joe. All opposed to rejecting this?
No.
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 And Councilor Schwartzler voted no.
Okay.
And do I need to declare Councilor Kaur as a no by absence?
I don't believe so. It requires 4 to pass something.
Thank you.
To pass.
I will, okay. Motion is defeated. If someone would like to make another motion. I see people scrolling, go ahead.
I move to award the construction contract to GT Landscape Solutions in the amount of $457,112.20 and authorize the city manager execute the contract and any change orders within the approved budget.
I have a motion and a second. Are you okay, Karen? Okay. I have a motion, second, discussion.
Again, I think this is irresponsible to do. I think it's too much money to be spending right now in the time of 22% inflation. I think it only makes sense that we wait and get more bids, and then we wait to see if costs can go down. I can't imagine that a natural landscape of logs and nets could go up in price. But if you guys want to sell it to the community that's spending $500,000 right now on logs and a swing set and ropes is important, then by all means, pass this.
I'll make the comment here that I know that having to put in irrigation and drainage, that's expensive stuff. And as a person who's wandered through that park quite a few times, there's irrigation and drainage would be important. And this is SDC eligible, being paid for by the developers of the housing projects down there, is that correct?
Yeah, it's SDCs we've already collected from
development
in that area.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I would just like to add that I would really like to see these funds used for some accessibility issues that we have down at the riverfront for that park.
Okay, and we have a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have Morton and Martin Willis and Schwartzler, yes. And
Yes.
opposed? Joe and Roden in opposition, with Cora being absent. That's a no by absence, allowing me to vote, and I vote yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. West.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, I'm filling in again. Sean did all the legwork on this, he did the hard work, I am just the mouthpiece tonight. So, before I came to the City of Independence, back in 2002, Falcon Loop Development was built. And at that time, it was considered that one of the lots would be conveyed to the city. And it just didn't happen. That was the plan, and it just did not occur. The property owner has now expressed an interest in conveying that property in addition to an additional 4 acres, which is immediately to the west of that property. You can see Sean's provided you with that map showing you where that property is. What we would like to do is explore that possible donation. This doesn't mean we're going to take it. It doesn't mean we're not going to take it. What it means is that you will give me the authority to talk to the owner, to find out what they're thinking about, if we want to continue to move forward like we had planned to in 2002, what the good and the bad of it would be. And then once we have determined all of that, and it looks like we have found something that we think you and the community would approve of, we would come back to you, we would have a full discussion and talk about moving forward. So this is the very first step in the process, and it's simply providing me the authority to talk to the owners and move forward with those discussions.
Questions? Councilor Moore?
I have a couple of questions. I remember when we were taking in plans for new subdivisions, that at one time it was part of the Parks Master Plan that each new subdivision of a specific size would set aside property for use as a park. And I'm not sure if that's what this lot is that's left or what the other additional acreage comes from. And given the discussion we just had, I would really not like to see this be on our dime to create yet another park. And my follow-up question then is, if this is donated to the city, is it something that is saleable? Or can it be maintained or developed in some way that doesn't put an onus on the city budget?
It is most likely not saleable. It is just the location and where it is. If it were saleable, the developer probably would have done it. The concept or the idea that we're looking at, it doesn't mean that that's what we'll go forward with, is the central townage concept plan. It might allow a north-south connection for a pedestrian north-south connection. We're looking at it as that opportunity as we move forward with the central townage concept.
And that would come with some significant grant possibilities, is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's how we move forward on almost everything these days. And thankfully, knock on wood, we've been fortunate. But again, those are things we will discuss and we will look at as we start to look at this as a donation. You know, is it good for the city, is it not good for the city? And we'll bring that back to you for a full discussion. This is just the first step of, can we talk to them and what does it look like to get that information to you?
Additional questions? Okay, this is an action item, please.
I move to authorize the city manager to negotiate terms of a potential property donation.
Thank you, Councilor.
And a second by Roden. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. That was a yes by Councilor Schwartzer.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. Announcements?
Yes. Wanted to let you know that on behalf of the Independence Downtown Association, the hearts are down or coming down shortly. And they generated enough income to be able to have the beautiful flower baskets that were here last year. Will be not the same ones, obviously. Fresh ones will be back. And they should be installed the weekend after Mother's Day.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
Can I ask a question about something that was in our packet that we didn't discuss? It was, it's something that Fred had in his comments. It has to do with attempting to work with Monmouth to purchase shelters for some of the trolley stops and working on trolley funding and stuff. Is that something that they would come to us and talk about to us before purchasing trolley stops? Because we don't even know if we can fund the trolley next year or what. We don't know what's gonna happen with the trolley,
So there's funding already in place for
for the
that,
trolley stops?
for the trolley stops,
Okay,
yes.
so that's nothing that's gonna come out of Independence?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, somebody would say the word adjourned.
Adjourn.
Thank you, have a pleasant evening. Good night.